Hey everyone, I just started this a minute ago and my internet crapped out, so we've been having problems with our Wi-Fi, so hopefully I can get it stable enough. Let me turn this off and we can do our live stamping video. Anyway, this is Amanda Mertz, and I stamp at Did You Stamp Today, and every Wednesday I have a Let's Stamp Today live video where I make a card and just kind of show how it comes together and any tips, tricks, and techniques to that you can learn and take into your own stamping. So I'm just going to get on this so I can see if anybody's commenting. That's not what I need. I'm having struggles today. There we go. Now I've got my full thing, but hopefully the internet stays stable. Anyway, there are really no big announcements or anything in Stampin' Up! Or for my local stampers with classes. The only thing is there was some new products released yesterday for the online exclusives, as well as some new kits. So check that out if you want to see some new items. And also to remind you that the new items will be packaged in the new sleeves. So anything that you buy from the new online exclusives will be put in the nice little envelope sleeves, and that's dies and stamp sets, and they're going to be all uniform sizes, so you can increase your storage and how many stamp sets you can keep on your shelves now that they're thinner. All right, let me turn the camera and get set up here for some actual stamping. Now that I've gone through the blah 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 of the announcements and stuff, I'm gonna try to get this nice and close. I'm gonna zoom in maybe a little closer to see that everyone can see. Let me turn this so you can see. This is what we're going to be using today. We're going to be using the Jolly Delivery Bundle, and we're going to just be making a sweet little Christmas card. And I'm going to be showing you a really fun technique that my stampers learned last week at class, and everybody loved it. And once they saw how it came together, they thought it was easy, and they're like, wow, I never knew how that came together. So I'm going to show it today again on another card, so then they can see something different if they're watching with me. And just, it's a fun technique, and you can use it with any kind of stamps. The couple samples that I have are Christmas, but of course you can use whatever kind of stamps you've got. And so we're going to be using the Jolly Delivery Bundle. And let me just set that aside and pull in what our supplies are going to be. And so we've got Garden Green card base. We have a piece of the Jolly, I have to keep looking at it, North Pole Delivery Designer Series paper, and this coordinates with, it's part of the whole suite with the Jolly Delivery stamp set and dies. It's got the paper, and then it also has several sheets of the die cuts images, so you can pop out and accent your cards with. So that's a cute set, and there's great Christmas colors. It's like Pool Party, Garden Green. Let me read them all out because I've got it on the paper here. Let's see. Basic Black, Cajun Crepe. Well, some of them are because it's animals, so there's lots of browns, but the basics for Christmas would be Garden Green, Pecan Pie, Petal Pink, Pool Party, and Poppy Parade. I think those are the main Christmas colors. The rest are like for animal fur colors and stuff. So we've got that. We have a piece of Very Vanilla cardstock for the insert, and then I've just got a piece of Garden Green for scrap size that we're going to do a die cut out of, and a piece of Very Vanilla that we're going to do a punch out of, and then a Very Vanilla envelope. I know these are not available anymore, but I still have packages of them left, so I use them where I can, so I can free up space eventually on my shelves. But since the main neutral on the pattern that we're using is Very Vanilla, I wanted it all to match. So It also, some of the patterns in the designer series paper have basic white, but it's like this side is basic white, but this side is Very Vanilla. So I'm going to use Very Vanilla. So, oh, and a piece of Poppy Parade. This is just a 1-inch wide strip of Poppy Parade. So let me move this stuff out of the way. And I think, what are we going to do first? Why don't we do our stamping first? Oh, actually, you know what? I am going to have to step away. I did not cut the right size for one more of the pieces, the main piece that we had. I thought I had one sitting over here, but just give me a moment and see. Well, this has kind of been that kind of morning already. Nothing is quite going as planned, but let me give you something pretty to look at. So how about look at that pretty pattern, and I will cut a piece really quickly. I thought I had everything ready to go, but I missed the main piece. So this is the main piece what we're going to stamp on, and this is a piece of 5.5 by 3.25. So it's a nice wide strip, and it's going to kind of go like that. So we are going to use the little bear stamp, and we're going to use the little Dachshund, Spaniel, I don't know, I guess it maybe depends on how you color them, stamp. And let's see, we're going to use some Memento Black ink. This is the panel that we're going to be doing the die cutting technique on. So it's a little bit important that you have good placement of your main image, which is the bear. So he's going to get stamped basically in the middle. So I'm going to try to get him straight without getting my head over. Are we kind of crooked here? I feel like maybe the camera's a little bit crooked. No? I can straighten it out. Is that better? I just looked up and I saw that it was a little crooked, so I don't want you guys to get vertigo while you're watching me stamp. So we're going to stamp that one. We're just going to set it aside for now, and then we're going to stamp the insert also, because when we're going to do some coloring with Stampin' Blends, and if you're new to Stampin' Blends, or even if you're not, it's always a good reminder that they're alcohol-based markers, and they're great for blending and getting shading and all that, but if you try to color too soon after stamping your main image in your memento, the lines can kind of run and bleed a little bit, and you don't get quite as good of a final finished piece. So you want to stamp and then set it aside for a few minutes, or, you know, however long, but like don't go immediately to stamping. I was practicing some of my design and just seeing what would work well for this card, and I started stamping way too soon, or started coloring way too soon, and the line just bled all over the place. So so in the meantime, we're gonna stamp our sentiment, and that's really it for stamping. The main thing on this card is definitely going to be the technique. Like, it's really kind of a wow technique, and it's actually very, very simple once you see how it comes together. So I'm going to use my old 1 3/8 inch circle punch. And here's a fun tip. If you have a smaller piece of paper that you don't have enough to hold to slide it into the die, just use a sticky note to hold it, and that way you can get the most out of your cardstock, and you don't have to cut as big of a piece, and you can use as much as you want on it. So that's kind of just it just gives you a little handle to hold. It's a little trick I learned a really long time ago and has come in handy and allowed me to use really small scraps that otherwise would be harder to use. And all right, and now set those aside. How about we do this? We're gonna do our base, and again, this is Garden Green, and it's just the regular basic card base, which is half of a 8.5 by 11. So then the finished card front is 4 1/4 by 5.5. And let's get this put down. We're just gonna do a little bit of glue on the back. Oops. My glue seems like it's starting to get a little clogged. And here we go. So trying to keep plugging away at my Christmas cards. I know the past couple weeks people have said that they're working on them or almost finished, but I am not anywhere near finished. But slowly, every week I add a few more to the collection. All right, let's see. Let's bring these back in now, and I think we can color and then move on to the fun part of the card coming together. So, got my colors, and let's see. Let's start with the bear. He is going to, I know I've shown several cards on my blog and stuff lately that uses the bear stamp, and I've kept him white. It's so easy, like hardly any coloring. So, you know, polar bears, nice and easy. But this time we're going to be doing a brown bear because the Very Vanilla doesn't, I don't know, he just needed more color for this card, especially against all the green. So we're going to give him some brown. And when I was practicing, you know, playing around with my colors, I realized that my pecan pie colors were starting to run a little dry. So I pulled in one of my neutrals, and this one is the old labeling. It's SU300, which I think it might be the medium dark colors. I have to relabel them. I have to go back and try to match what they were. So this is just one of the darker colors that comes with the just the neutrals, kind of the different skin tones. And I had gotten them when they first came out, and they were labeled differently. But this is just one of the medium dark ones, I think. Don't hold me to that. I'm not gonna swear by it. So if anybody knows offhand, which is SU300 and what it's labeled as now in the new Get Up, you can let me know. But then I'm going to use that as the highlights, and then I'm going to use my Pecan Pie dark. So this bear is a little bit, he ends up a little bit darker than what I was hoping, but you've got to make do with what supplies you've got on hand. And I've got Pecan Pie replacement markers on my list, so the next time I order, which is probably going to be sooner rather than later, because we have some new products released. And of course I have a few from the release I got during the pre-order. It's a perk of being a demonstrator, but there's a few more things that I need. Well, want, you know, and they are doing another online crafting class using a newer suite. So I was going to take a look at that and see what ideas I could get with that suite. But so I'm just gonna kind of blend. I am not a good colorer, you know, I can be honest with myself about that, but I think the blending Stampin' Blends are pretty forgiving when it comes to lines, you know, blending out nicely. So I'm just gonna kind of blend in some of that darker. And then I'm going to switch to my big brush. And the tip on this one is a little sus as well, as the kids say. And I'm not getting great coverage, but we'll get it colored in, and you can get the idea. And all of you like fantastic colors out there can just be inspired by mine, and you're like, well, I could do better, and I like absolutely hope you do better. But we're just gonna kind of get some more color in, fill in his belly, and kind of soften some of those lines a little bit. But there we go, and he'll dry a little bit lighter. And now on for maybe some of the easier coloring. I'm going to do the packages. So the red that is in this sweet color is Poppy Parade. You can use real red, but I was just kind of, makes it easy when you're trying to design a card that you just kind of stick to the colors that are in the designer series paper you're using, and it just kind of makes it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to stick with that and use some Poppy Parade. And then now some Poppy Parade Light to fill it in and blend. And hopefully you can see. I don't see. There we go. And I hope when you try this technique that I'm going to show you in a minute, I hope when you try it at home, like tag me, especially if you share on Instagram, tag me, because I'd love to see how you guys how you guys do this technique and which stamps and dies you use, because it's just really fun to see what you can make with your, you know, creative imagination. All right, so if you're thinking like, Amanda, how are you going to do garden greens to go with the paper? Because we don't have garden green blends, which I think is a travesty. I think we should have all the colors, but in the meantime, I want to show you, let me see if I can find a piece of, what did I do with my scrap? Here's the scrap that I cut out. I just want to show you, you can mix, which I just learned from another fantastic demonstrator. She's fabulous, Patty Bennett, that you can mix dark Granny Apple Green and dark shaded spruce to get like a dark garden green. And when it dries, like, it's a great match. So when you're in a pinch, or you're just like, I can't believe I don't have a green to match, you can make that. And there's also, she shares on her blog, I don't remember when, it was fairly recently, some other combinations to make some other colors that we don't have blends in. There's not very many we don't have blends in, but so she's like a genius for figuring that out. Or even if she wasn't the one who figured it out, for the one who I saw, she shared it on her blog, and it's a nice way to get around not having maybe the specific marker that you need. So I'm just going to quickly color that in with dark Granny Apple Green, and then I'm going to go over it. And on this one, it's kind of a small area, so I'm trying really hard not to over ink so we don't get bleeding outside of our lines. But this is great for if you've got like flowers that you want to color with and you need that green. So that's going to dry a little bit lighter once we're ready. And we're going to do, let's see, maybe we'll do Poppy Parade Light, and I'm just going to kind of highlight that bow. All right, I think we are almost ready to do our fancy die cutting. So the dies we're going to use, we're going to use the die that cuts out the bear, and then we're going to use 2 of the Stylish Shapes circles. So we're going to use the biggest one for this technique, and then the third smallest is going to be just cut out for the backing of our sentiment. So I'm going to pull up the die cutter and show you this awesome technique. It's so fun. And I shared, if you look back on my reels, on my Facebook reels, and I shared it as a short on YouTube of the card that we did at class. I did a really quick sped up video just so you can see the card come together. And it is, it's super popular. Everybody kind of went nuts over it. It was shared a lot and lots of comments and likes and stuff. So if you want to see that other Christmas card come together, take a look at that one. All right, so we're just going to line up the die like you would normally if you were cutting out the image. And I'm just going to tape it down with a little bit of painter's tape. Now this is where it all comes together. So we're going to do a partial die cut. What that means is we're going to cut out some of the image, but not all of it. So it's going to still be attached, but some of it will get cut out. So the way you do that, you decide where you're going to want the partial die cut to end, and then you put your top plate at that line so the rest of the die isn't cut. So I want all of the bear cut out except for the feet. So I'm going to line my die up kind of across where his feet are. You can see the top die, or the die is there, and then the top cutting plate just stops short. You just run it through your Big Shot. And I'll show you, it's really cool. All right, let me make sure that's centered so everybody can see. I'm gonna peel this up nice and easy. Set that aside, we're gonna need that. All right, so partial die cut, here we come. You can see this part is cut out, but he's still attached down here on his feet. So you just have to line up the top cutting plate so it doesn't cover where you want it not to be cut. So just like that. And then the next part that adds, you know, you could do some different techniques. You can tuck some stuff back here, you know, maybe some other die cuts and pop it up and all that. But what really makes this one special, we're going to bring in the largest stylish shape circle, and we're going to tuck it behind the bear. Can you see where we're going here? You're going to tuck it behind the bear. So the part that's already cut is on the top. And we're just going to put that one down, try to keep it lined up on either side just for, you know, design's sake. And now this one, you're just going to cut out like normal. Put your cutting plate across the whole die, run it through, and peel this off. And that comes out. Pull that out, and now you've got the bear partially cut out with a nice highlighted circle around him. Like, isn't that the coolest technique? And all you need to remember to keep that technique is to just make sure you don't put your cutting plate all the way over the image and the die where you want to keep it attached. Like, really simple way. And look at how cute that's going to be. He's highlighted, and you get to see some of the patterns. So this is really nice when you've got like specialty paper that has like pretty gold or iridescent accents that like you want to use it, but you don't want to cover it up with too many layers. So this just kind of highlights the bear, and it lets you see the designer series paper on the back. So now we're just going to put it together, and this one is going to take quite a few dimensionals. I'm going to try to go quick here because that's boring for everybody to watch. And let's see, one over here. I just want to support it since it is kind of thin on those ends. You kind of want to keep a little bit of support so it doesn't collapse. It's like, say if you're in the, you know, sending it in the mail or whatever. I'm going to do a couple little ones just to support the thinner bits on the edges. And one right there. I think that's good. So we'll get these, slide these over, and take all these off. And I did the scrapbooking workshop, the big retreat over the summer. I did that, and I've never really scrapbooked before. I put together a couple pages on my own for some challenges, but I learned so much. And I learned that for scrapbook pages, when you want to pop something up, use the dimensionals, but you don't have to take the backing off all of them. It's really just a matter of support because you've probably got enough adhesive to keep your element down on the page, but you can just, you know, only take the backing off for the sticky part on some of them. So I was like, that's genius. Like, I usually take it all off on cards because that's a smaller surface. But when you're doing something big like a scrapbook page, I was like, that's so smart to not, you know, don't take the time to pull all the backing off if it's, you know, if it has enough support. Here you go. Let me bring that up closer so you can see. See how he's popped up? How cute is he? Or her, I guess, depending. All right, let's do some, oh, you know what? I have to do this die. I forgot. I was going to do that while I had the die cutter up. Let's get that cut before we get any further and I lose pieces, which is always kind of, you know, a possibility. I thought I had lost this circle die shortly before I was going to get ready to go live. Where was it? It was, of course, tucked under some paper. So now we've got that. Set that aside. All right, let's pull some of these pieces together and leave that there so you can see how cute our bear is. And I'm going to do a little bit of Garden Green twine. I don't know when this came out. If it was like last fall, it might have been. Use whatever twine you've got, white. If you've got some fun shimmery or even some thin ribbon. I like to use all my embellishments. I like to use what I have because you can't possibly, at least I can't possibly afford to buy every single thing that's new or that's out, especially when I kind of have a color that already works at home, you know, to use. So I always say use what you have. And if you don't have certain colors that you use a lot of, those are the ones you buy. And then you use those until they're gone and then you buy the next one. But, so I like to use this up, and it's also satisfying to use everything up completely. Look, this one is almost a couple more cards and I can, you know, pat myself on the back for using something up completely. Like when you use up a whole pack of Designer Series paper, that's pretty rare. But when I use up a whole bunch of ribbon, a whole roll, or a whole, you know, sheet of embellishments, I don't know, I feel very accomplished. It's the little things that keep me going, I think. So I'm just going to do the Poppy Parade band across the card front here. Oop. And it would help if I took the backing off of these so that they stick on the end. So I put dimensionals on the edges because remember this panel is popped up. So I don't want the pieces, the edges of the Poppy Parade to get smushed on the sides. So I put dimensionals there to help support that. Hopefully that's straight. I'm going to do, let's pop that up. So we're just popping it up. It'll still go through the mail, I'm pretty sure. Dimensionals squish down pretty well. So sometimes if you take it in and ask the person at the counter if it's too lumpy, they always say yes. Though if you were to mail it out of your own mailbox at home, they take it and I assume it always gets delivered because it never comes back to me. All right, I'm going to snip off a little bit of this and I'm just going to tie this. I like doing the two different pieces for ribbon and twine, one around and just tape the edges back, and then a second one to do the bow, just because I feel like I have a lot more control of where the bow ends up and you can slide it where you want it to go. And I feel like if I try to do it with one big long piece, it's always kind of bends the cardstock a little bit, and I don't know, I just feel that I do better when it's two separate pieces. Trim that end off, and I think you use a little bit less product too. So if you want to stretch it a little bit further. All right, let's see what else we're gonna do. We're gonna do for the front. Let's do some of these traditional sparkling sequins. So I had Poppy Parade gems or, you know, embellishments. I had Garden Green embellishments, but I wanted something a little different. So it wasn't all so much the same color, and I wanted something sparkly. So I'm going to use my take your pick tool, and I'm just going to pop off. I'm going to use one of the big ones, do a big one here. I'm going to do one of the smaller ones here. Let's see if I can get it up. One of the smaller ones here, a little bit on a diagonal, and then I'm going to take one of the medium ones and I'm just going to put it up here in the corner. So it kind of pulls your eye down across the bear and then over to the sentiment. So that's the front. Now on the inside, or for the insert, we're just gonna do the dog. And I'm gonna use my light pecan pie. Even though it's going dry, I think there's still enough just to get the dog done. He doesn't have that much fur showing since he's wearing a really kind of a cute sweater. And it's kind of the same brown as the bear, but a lighter version. I couldn't think of what other, like black would have been too dark, so. And I don't think crumb cake was not a good match, so I decided just to use the blends, the pecan pie light. See, it's starting to get a little harder to get color to come out, but. And can't forget his little black nose. He's a good little helper. And let's see, do I want to do dark or light? Let's do a little bit of dark for some highlights. How about under his ear where it would naturally be, and under the fold right there, and then right there. I think that's kind of the natural spots. And I'm just going to blend that really quick. And I hope that my internet is still going so that we haven't dropped off and I'm just talking to myself. Well, I might be talking to myself anyway, but that it's not because of the internet. There we go, a little dog. We're just gonna put him on the inside. And I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. Maybe for the envelope, I should have just done the dog. Let's see what else is in the stamp set. How about the little envelopes? Let's put that on a block and we will do our envelopes on the envelope. How's that sound? Is that a good? And then we don't have to wait for it to dry to color. And we can use our garden green ink pad and make sure I'm stamping on the correct side. I'm just going to do this. Kind of that's not the best. I should have gone the other way, but that's all right. It goes through the mail. It's destroyed half the time anyway by the time it comes through. So in the final bit, got to make sure that I've got my name on the back. So then people can be like, oh, did you make it? All they need to do is look on the back. So there we go. So that is our partial die cut bear using the Jolly Delivery bundle and some of the paper from the suite. And it is just a fun technique. So just remember, when you want to go and do a partial die cut, line up the top cutting plate above where you want it to stay attached. And then, like I did the nice circle opening in the back just to give it a little extra highlight. It's a nice way to show off an image and just kind of make a fun card. So that's that. And let me show you the other partial die cut card. This is the one that I made the video of last week and that my stampers made in class. So we used the ornamental Christmas set, and so we just partially cut out the Christmas tree and then we used a square die behind it to show that off. So it kind of makes a nice opening so you can see some of the designer series paper behind that. We just accented it with some gold foil stars and some more embossing for the sentiment. But that's just kind of a fun, another fun way to use that technique. And now here's some other ones that we've made using the Jolly Delivery bundle. So that's another one. See, like I said, how easy is that? Make them a polar bear. Just color the gifts. Makes it super easy. Here's another polar bear with some fun colors. So this is, if you don't like the regular traditional red and green color schemes, this is a fun one. Pumpkin pie. I use strawberry slush and lemon lime twist. So That's a fun one. Here's another polar bear. This is one I did a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. Did this one on the live, so you can go back and rewatch that one on my YouTube channel. Here's another one, polar bear. See, I was obsessed with the polar bear, so it was definitely time to make a brown bear. This one I did some paper piecing for the gifts, and that makes it nice and easy to bring in some other patterns, and then color the little mailbox. And then this is one, I didn't even use any stamps in the bundle except for the sentiment. And these are all some of those pre-cut die piece, pre-cut pieces that, you know, you just pop out of the sheet and you just add them to your card. So I highlighted some of those on the different panels. So those are my cards that I've done with these. Hopefully you get some ideas. And again, I'm Amanda Mertz, and thank you for watching my Let's Stamp Today live. And you can follow me on all of my social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, blog. It's all under Did You Stamp Today? And all the links will be up when I post this one to YouTube with the product numbers and all that. So you can find that on the online store. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you back again. Like, comment, share if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer all stamping questions. I talk stamping all day long. So thanks so much for coming. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Take care.